welcome to the latest episode of the Football Fun Factory podcast. As the judge last week, it's my job to spin the wheel to find out who's going to be the next judge. But Johnny introduced a new tradition last week, which is to rub out your own name. Is that correct?
You can rub my name off if you want.
So I'm going to rub out James here. And on this spinner, for those listening on audio, it's got all the names of Johnny, Luke and I. And there's one less James and one extra has to be Luke.
Hey!
Because he hasn't been the judge yet.
I want to be the judge.
So there's now lots of Lukes and far less James and Johnny.
If it doesn't land on Luke, then it's a fix.
Okay.
How can it be a fix?
Here we go then.
It's a wheel.
It could be a weighted
Complete
wheel.
chance.
Okay, here we go. Spinning the wheel. This week's judge is going to be...
Oh, it's a respin.
Oh!
No, that's Luke.
It's nudged over.
No.
It's nudged over to Luke Chadwick. There we
No.
go.
Hey!
Chadwick's the judge. He's back in the hot seat.
Absolutely delighted.
Get your wig on,
Judge
boy.
for ages. Already got it on. I'm absolutely buzzing to be back in the hot seat, back in the judge's chair, this itchy wig on my head. Let's get going. So the concept is I'm going to spin the wheel of questions. The best of three, is it, that we do?
Best of
I'm not
three.
sure the concept completely. You two are going to argue the case. We're going to put people on the stand. Winner takes nothing apart from pride. All ready?
Ready.
Let's go.
Oh, a little
gentle spin.
How much of the session should be match play? Okay, interesting question. I'm going to start with James. How much of the session should be match play?
About 50% for me. So arrival matches I think are really important because they help children get into the swing of things, makes a really welcoming environment for anyone that's a bit nervous. They can just jump in and play without too much instruction. And then I think breaking up the session game is always a good way to go. That's what we do at the FFF to have technical training, fun games and also match play. But the match is a reward for children. It's the bit that they enjoy the most. So to start the session with a match and to break up the session with matches into short, sharp chunks is always the best way for me.
50%. Johnny?
It's hard to disagree with that because obviously of what we do at the FFF, and that's why I agree with it. However, I'm going to say a different percentage each week. Throw a bit of a curveball out there.
Okay.
All right, James, I want you to start questioning John on a different percentage each week. It doesn't really answer the question, but do your best.
Yeah. So in the delivery training that you do, John, you talk about consistency and how important it is for the familiarity of the session, so children know what to expect. Now you just suddenly decided to rip up the rule book and have a different percentage.
I just felt a bit different this morning,
week.
James.
Yeah.
So I think the consistency is really important, of course, especially when coaching younger children. And I also think that the case that you brought to the court this morning is very valid, and having session game is spot on. However, different horses for different courses, as someone once said. I think when you're working on a session and it's going really well, then you might continue that session for a little bit longer and eat into your match time that you maybe have planned for within your session. If the session isn't going very well and actually the children aren't quite grasping it and you need to move it on, then getting the children into a match is a great way to keep them entertained, to get loads of outcomes that you want within your session. So having flexibility and chopping and changing the length of the matches within the session every single week can help facilitate the best possible session.
Cool.
Just a quick one on that. 50%. James always said 50%. You said a varying each time. Like, would sometimes it be 10% match play, or would it be always a higher percentage?
Always a higher percentage, in my opinion, because that's ultimately what you're training the children to develop and improve on. So I think for me, I would always edge more than 30% of your session.
Thank you very much. I'm going to stop that there. And now, Johnny, can you question James on his 50%?
Cool, yeah, so probably trying to back up my point a little bit more and dig my heels in. Obviously, depending on how the session's going, would you be really strict with that 50% every single week?
Definitely, because ultimately when we talk about how the session's going, that could just play into the ego of the coach for me, because how the session is going, if it's going well, great, reward them with a game, stick to the 50%. If it's not going very well, then keep trying to help the children, keep developing the children. It's who's it going well for? That's the key thing, and the focus should be on the kids. And I think that ultimately the kids should then be rewarded or should have that extra time up to the time limit of their sessions, and that's why 50% is always the way to go.
Just a quick question: should the game be a reward? Like, is that what it is within a football session?
Very good, Judge.
Thank you very much.
I think so, because it's what children want. I don't think it should be a reward as in a carrot, as in so almost. We'll get extra game time or those kind of things, because I think ultimately kids should always play. Really hate if you don't listen this week, there's no game at the end. Yeah. We don't subscribe to that at all. So I think it should be a reward in that it's what children look forward to, and if they enjoy, well, it's the football fun factory after all.
Very good. Any more questions, Johnny, or are you ready for me to make my decision on the winner of the first question?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so I am going to go with the person. For me, it was all about match play. Like when playing football as a coach, I always thought you could learn everything from a game. Obviously, not every single part of a session will be a match. So because Johnny said the question I asked you, always above 50% or above, I'm going to award the first point to Johnny Martin.
Get in. Come on.
Okay, here we go again. James, always chance this time to get an equaliser.
That's fine.
Better spin, Luke.
Yeah,
much better.
Get on the weights. The biggest no-no in kids' football. Johnny, go.
For coaches or just in general?
Just in general, the biggest no-no.
Coaches shouting at children in a negative way.
Okay, do you want to expand a little bit?
So if a child's made a mistake, the coach then getting on their back, having a go at them. The coaches then shouting constantly from the sideline, directing the children what to do, when to do it. So that's a big no-no for me.
Cool.
James?
I completely agree. That is a massive no-no.
But...
And there's only one thing worse. Parents shouting at children. Because the coach shouting at the children, really, really disappointing, and we shouldn't ever see that. It's all about encouragement and being really positive from the sidelines. But the only thing worse than that is when parents do it, because then what you've got is potentially parents shouting different things. So if you've got a group of parents shouting, one shouting pass, one shouting shoot, or you've got loads of parents shouting even the same thing at the same time, puts pressure on the children on the pitch. So for me, I completely agree, and there's only one thing worse. It's parents shouting from the sidelines.
Now that is a fantastic point. John?
I like what he's done there. He's put me in a really difficult position.
It's called one-upmanship.
Beyond one-downmanship.
Have you heard of... well, I am one-downmanship. It's also called, I heard this the other day, 11 a reef. Have you ever heard of that? 11
okay, Johnny, do you want a question?
Do you want to talk to me about 11 a reef? It's anyone who's ever been... Anyone who talks about, I've been to Tenerife. Someone goes, I've been to 11 a reef.
I made that joke the other day about that I was going to 8-9 Tenerife.
Yeah, mine's better, so 11 a reef.
Okay, guys, back to the point. Let's stay on topic, please. Johnny, do you want to question James on his biggest no-no in children's football?
So, of course, that is a big no-no in children's football. However, the children might not listen to the parents, so therefore they know they're listening to the coach. The coach is the authority figure within the setup of a team. So therefore, I actually think it's worse if the coach is doing it, because they should be the shining light, leading by example, should be saying all the right things, setting the right tone for the parents. And I think if the coach is then doing it, that then encourages the parents to do it.
Yeah.
Bosh.
That's good.
I think so, but I think that then the same is true then for if one parent does it, that then spreads like wildfire on the sidelines. And what you've got then is one parent, so you've got a really well-behaved group of parents, and then suddenly one shouts, shoot, pass, whatever, and then everyone else catches on. Before you know it, the opposition are involved, and it ends in an absolute raucous.
We've all been there. Right, James, you want to question Johnny?
Yeah, so my question would be really, really simple. Is it worse having one person shouting negative things from the sideline, or 20? Which is worse?
Stumped him.
One. Yeah, no, like I said, I agree with that.
Which one?
20 people shouting on the sideline is definitely worse. However,
have you got 20 coaches?
Would you rather a flock of geese shouting?
Oh, come on, Judge, bang the hammer, Judge.
No way, I'm interested. Go.
Or
He sounds like that Eric Cantona.
Yeah, that's why I'm so interested.
or the loudest goose.
So what you're saying?
I don't understand.
The goose or the geese? I think I understand what you're saying.
Thanks, Judge.
Fantastic. So, guys, brilliantly argued both your cases. This is a really tight one. I think you know who's going to win this because they argued it at, of course,
2-0, Johnny.
20 is worse than one person shouting. I completely agree that the coach, when they're like that, it shouldn't happen. But the parents, James, congratulations.
Thanks very much.
A well-earned point. 1-1.
1-1 going into the final round.
Who'd have thought it?
Oh,
Here we go.
unbelievable.
Good spin.
It's a wobbly one. Oh, what a question. I'm going to start with you, James.
Yeah.
The worst thing about coaching.
Weather conditions.
Straight in there. Do you want to expand a little bit? What sort of weather conditions?
About 11, 12 degrees.
That's only funny if someone's watched the previous podcast.
Nobody watched the last
Shall I
one.
explain it?
So, it's brilliant to follow your passion. Amazing to be on the pitch. Great to see the happy, smiling children that you may be coaching. But when your toes are freezing, when the rain's belting down, when you're sunburned, like I tend to get,
in the same condition, by the way.
all in February.
In October.
All those things happen in February. It's just not great, is it? When you're freezing cold, it's not where you want to be, but doing something that you want to do.
That is a strong answer, John. I don't know where you're going to go with this one. Go on.
I've 11 roofed him. I've got it in my head. I know exactly
What does
what the
that mean?
answer is. The worst thing about coaching is the little black rubber crumb that gets stuck in your boot and all over your car and all in your house. There is nothing worse than finding that for months on end.
That is a very, very good point, John.
That's a good point.
Do you want to question John on the little black balls, John?
Yeah. Absolutely. Love to. So...
He's gone. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a chance to re-engage. John, do you want to question James?
Yeah, so I'm thinking back to a few podcasts ago now. James, you said that the best thing about, and your early childhood memory, and one of the best memories and the best weather conditions to play in was the freezing cold, the rain, the mud, sliding tackles for the kids, and how much they all loved it. And now you've sort of gone against your own argument.
The reason for that, Johnny, is in that situation, Luke went first. He gave his answer, and I had to try and stump him. So I had to try and argue a point. So I didn't believe that at all, which further reaffirms my point that weather conditions is the worst thing about coaching football.
Yeah, I think there's two sides of the coin, as it were. I think it could be the best thing about coaching football.
Or being freezing cold.
No, but being in the summer, it could be a weather condition you absolutely love, topping up your tan, stood out there, kids playing football, you on the sideline, big smile on your face.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to be said for coaching in Australia, America, Florida, somewhere like that. Absolutely great, but I guess I can only draw on my own experiences of coaching in Cambridge, where it's not quite the same.
No, it's different.
And we'll be out at a session this evening, and the best thing about it will be the kids running around, having a great time, seeing them play matches, improve their football skills. The worst thing about it will be that our toes are going to feel like they're going to fall off.
Definitely. Can you question Johnny on his point?
So I think that, it's frustrating, isn't it, to get a rubber crumb in your shoes.
More than frustrating.
Frustrating for the wife when you get home and the rubber crumbs all over the house. That doesn't go down too well. But I think there's benefits and trade-offs to rubber crumb, because there's, of course, the fact that you get the rubber crumb all over the floor in your house and in your shoes. It's not a massive inconvenience to tip it out, but you're not on a sand-based astroturf. You're not caked in mud, and that 3G astroturfs are probably one of the best things. 4G astroturfs, one of the best things to ever happen to the English game.
Yeah.
Quite a big reason why the English national team and the development of English football has been the investment in facilities. The Football Foundation done an amazing job bringing facilities to the country. So if there's a byproduct of a bit of rubber crumb on your lounge carpet and you're having to tip them out your shoes, that is a small price to pay for the wonderful facilities that are driving the English game.
That is absolutely
I'm going to put it out there. I would rather never win a World Cup and see in my lifetime England win a World Cup if it meant that I didn't have any rubber crumb in and around my house.
I think award the points immediately, Judge.
What I'm going to say, we both argued your point well again, and without doubt, the rubber crumb is an annoyance. But there is nothing worse than being freezing cold, wet through, getting back in your car after the session. So the winner of this point and the winner of this week's podcast, Mr. James Cutting. Round of applause.
Thanks, guys.
Fantastic. So now it's time for everybody's favourite part of the podcast.
You've never had a chance to say that.
I know,
before.
yeah, absolutely wasn't it? I don't know
Judge's
the name.
questions.
Chadwick's questions.
So, Chad, linking into the question around the weather conditions, or the worst thing about football, my answer was weather conditions. Can you remember any particular professional games that you played where the weather conditions were just like an absolute disaster? You must have played in some, like, whether it be hurling winds or driving rain or whatever it might be. Any games particular that stand out?
There's one game that stands out, but it was as a young player, as a kid playing. I was playing for Eternit Colts against Trumpington Tornadoes. And it was like in Trumpington.
I swear you make these teams up.
No, it's the truth. And the snow, it was snowing so much, but we had people away or injured or something, and they got wind of that, so it sort of made the game be on. And I remember that it was awful. Like, the snow was so thick, you were running around, you couldn't see the ball. But last minute, the game was 0-0. It was a terrible game because of the conditions. Eternit Colts got a free kick 25 yards out. Up steps Super Lukey Chadwick and bends it in the top corner.
Bend it like Beckham.
Bend it like Chadwick. Put us top of the league in the under-11s, under-12s Cams League, and it was a fantastic day for us. But other than that, like, as a professional, I remember when I played for Stoke, it used to be the windiest ground in the world. Like, there was no sort of the gap in the corner between the stands. It was like high up on a hill, and it was like a really windy ground. But other than that, I always remember the Trumpington game. But
sounds like an absolute stormer.
yeah, no pun intended. Snowstorm.
Great. My question, Chaddy, is obviously there's been Champions League and Europa League sort of going on over the last few weeks and coming to a close within the new format, which I've thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah.
My question is, what is the most random team that you've played in a European club competition?
Most random club, it probably would have been Sturm Graz, they were called. They were, I think, an Austrian team. And I remember I started the game at Old Trafford, one of the very few Champions League games I started. Done quite well in the game. I think I set a goal up in it. And they were probably the most random, the club that we were playing against them. I've not really heard of them before. So I'd have to go with Sturm Graz.
Cool.
All done?
All
Questions done? Well, Thank you for watching or listening to this week's podcast, and we'll be back really soon.